All right, welcome back to The Defeated Soul. I'm returning to the conversation on the effects that psychology has on society. Today I'm going to talk about toxic people. This is the phrase. I don't think this phrase existed when I was a child, actually. When I was young, I don't think I ever heard this term, toxic people. It's a term that's emerged more and more, and it's becoming very ingrained, I think, in modern society. I think this idea is often expressed in terms of, I don't want to say expressed in terms of modern psychology, but at least modern psychology has some influence on how we deal with this idea of toxic people. Toxic people. I don't know if I even like the term. I'll stick with it a little bit for now. I understand the category that it's trying to describe. I think the category does exist, certainly. Yes, there are people that are like this. To call them toxic, I really wish people wouldn't do that. Actually, I think it's I think I'm going to go as far as to say that's a bad term to use. It's just so. Gosh, there's a few words that people are using today, and these are, I think, mostly come from the left side of politics. Toxic is one. Abuse. God, I'm getting so sick of that word. People, back in the day, the word abuse meant, hurting someone physically. Now it just means anything. Anything is abuse now. Violence, right? I don't know if you guys knew this, but violence means actually hurting someone physically again. It's not, anything is violence now. So there's toxicity, there's abuse, there's violence. These words are toxic. These words are a real cancer to our society, and it's making people just really despicable. It really is. I'm getting so sick of people using these words in this way. So let's talk about toxic people for a moment. There's this notion today that if there are people who are toxic in your life, what do you do with them? Everyone knows the answer. The answer is kick them out. Kick them out. Why? Because there's something wrong with their brain, and something wrong with their brain, they have to fix it for themselves. Why do we believe that? Because we believe in psychology. Because we believe that all of the answers are in here, that everything you need is in here and not out there. And that is flawed. And go back to my previous video on my discussion on that. And this is disgusting to me that we say, okay, what should we do with toxic people? Kick him out of your life. That's the answer. Think about that, guys. What do you think made them toxic in the first place? Come up with your theories, whatever they are. I'll tell you my theory. My theory is they were kicked out of people's lives. A lack of love. The reason why these people have become the way they are is because they were not loved. And they are desperately in need of love. Love yourself, they say. Go back to my other previous video. I talk about that too. Actually, I'm going to make another video on that thing, specifically about love yourself. Love yourself. As I said in my previous video, tell that to a baby. Tell a baby to love herself. Put a baby, Jordan Peterson put this forth, actually, this idea of put a baby in a mall and see what happens. Leave a baby in the middle of a mall, see what happens. Tell that baby, go love yourself. Tell that to a 5-year-old. Tell that to a 10-year-old. So at least we can cover the first 10 years of life, right? And say, guys, surely they cannot simply just love themselves. Maybe you might say, well, take it to a 20-year-old, okay? 20-year-olds, they can handle it, and maybe to some degree. But let's say this: put them in a prison cell, solitary confinement. Love yourself. God, it's just ridiculous. Humans need love from others. And if they don't get love from others, what happens to them? They go crazy. And guess what this becomes? This is what is the toxic person. The reason why these people are toxic is because they were never loved. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say the exact opposite everybody else has been saying. Don't kick them out of your life. Bring them into your life. And I'm going to quote. And you'll find out I'm actually, instead of quoting psychologists, who I think their advice is just useless in many respects, and I shouldn't say that in all respects. There are some very intelligent things that come from psychologists. I'm being a little bit overly harsh. But the philosophers I go to more than anybody, certainly. I think they have the deepest truth in life. But every now and then you hear some great wisdom from artists, and many artists are morons too. But I'm going to quote Chris Cornell, and it's very it's very sad to even mention Chris Cornell, because Chris Cornell committed suicide. I don't know why. I shouldn't pretend to know why, but I'm going to put forward a theory that maybe it was our society. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure, but I had great respect for what he said in his music, because he said he always had this view in his music. I think that was the opposite of what other people are saying. That guys, I'll love you. I will love you. If you're suffering from pain in this world, if there are things that you cannot handle, go ahead and save yourself and take it out on me. Go ahead and save yourself and take it out on me. That's the lyric from his song, and he has other songs that I think also reiterate that idea. That's love, guys. That's how you handle the toxic person. Now, there is some truth to the idea that you should not enable them. You should not feed their addiction to neediness, I guess you could say. Sure. I agree with those things, but I don't want to get too much into that stuff. I just want to emphasize this point that you guys are creating toxic people by kicking them out. I mean, that's why these people are shooting up schools. Is because we're doing this more and more. Is we're ostracizing them more and more. Is we're depriving them of love. Depriving people of love is not the answer, guys. I'm sorry. Go back to the Beatles. You didn't know this, but I mean, this is not known. All you need is love. You guys didn't know this? It's like a real important part of life. Like, it's the essence of life. Love is actually the answer. Love is all you need. It's not about kicking people out. Maybe what they need is a friend, and not a psychologist. Maybe what they, going into some room with some stranger who's going to sit there and talk to them in probably a condescending manner. Typically, I know they assume they're not, but I think The Mentalist was right. I'm going to quote another show here. The Mentalist was right that psychologists always think they're the smartest people in the room, and that's true. I think that's absolutely true. I think The Mentalist was 100% right on that. He hates psychologists because psychologists always think they're the smartest person in the room, and they have to. I mean, think about it. They have to. Because the whole point of treatment in psychology is you are coming in with incorrect thoughts, and I'll use their word for now, cognitions or schema, a cognitive schema, right? Maladaptive schema. You're coming into their office with a maladaptive set of thoughts, and how are they going to fix that? They have to supply the correct thoughts. So by nature, psychologists have to presume that they're the smarter person, and they do. Like I said, by necessity, they have to, and that's part of the problem right there, I think. So yeah, I think the answer to toxic people is to love them. Oh yeah. Think about the kid in school that eventually goes up and shoots schools, shoots up kids. You know what probably happened is because they follow this advice. All the people in school are following this advice, and they said, "Oh, this person's toxic. I'm gonna kick him out." When what you should have been doing is bringing them in, being like, "Hey, come hang out with us, join our group of friends. Man, I really appreciate you." You start hearing these dangerous thoughts that they have, and you say, "Oh my goodness, we need to push them away." What you should be saying is, "Oh, I hear these dangerous thoughts. I know, and this is risky, because it depends on how close they are to shooting people up, I guess. But someone in this world needs to have the courage to step up and say, you know what, I know this could damage my soul. Like I said, going back to Chris Cornell, go and save yourself, take it out on me. I mean, this could damage my soul, and it might actually damage your soul. But there's something profoundly beautiful in that. I know that is controversial. What I just said, it's probably going to cause a lot of anger, but I think there's something profoundly beautiful in that. I'll just put the idea out there from The Mad Scientist. I'm a huge fan of The Mad Scientist. Movies that are centered around, that have this theme of mad scientists. One movie I'm thinking of is The Time Machine. There are other movies of that nature, but the idea of the mad scientist is that the mad scientist wants to make the world right so desperately that he's willing to sacrifice his own sanity. And to me, there's something beautiful about that. There really is. I'm not saying that that's always the right thing. I don't want to go too far with that. I'm not saying that you should always put your health at risk for others, because I think that could lead, certainly, there's a very good argument to say that you should not put your health at risk for others. But for those of you who have the strength, and that's what I'm really trying to say, some of you have the strength, and the only way to gain that strength is through the practice of virtue. Stop pushing these people out. If you have that strength, if you've been loved your whole life, and you've been showered with love to such a degree that you know who you are and you are strong, then it's time to share the love with others too. Stop pushing people away. If you and those of you who are weak, what you need to do is to become strong. Is to strengthen up and take on these projects. People say, don't take on these projects. I'm saying the opposite. Take them on. Take them on. And people say, well, you're not an expert in the field, so don't take on these projects. No. They don't need the expert. They need you. Let me say it again. I want to say it loud and clear. They don't need the expert. They don't need the person who has training in the field. They don't need the person who has training to take it on. You take it on. You take on the project. Think about it. Psychologists have existed how long? A couple hundred years? Maybe not even that. Maybe not even a couple hundred years. Man, maybe not even 100 years. I think actually, yeah. Maybe 100 years. The human race has been in existence for, if I'm correct, I think is millions of years. Millions of years, if I'm right, 6 million I think was the number. The human race has been around for millions of years, if I'm correct. It's either millions or hundreds of thousands. I know one of the two is true. And nature did not design humans to say, well, if you have problems, go see a psychologist. Man, I should have put this in my other videos. This is actually a really good point. I actually just thought of this, in fact. Nature did not design the human race to have psychologists. And for thousands of years and millions of years, we have depended on each other, people who are not psychologists. So stop shirking your duty and saying, oh, well, if you're not trained in blah, 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 and if you're not trained in scientific induction and theories that are built on pure assumption, then you're not the one to be. No, you are the one to handle it. Brothers need to take care of each other. Sisters need to take care of each other. Friends need to take care of each other. Stop doing this nonsense where you say, oh, well, it's for the psychologist. And this I guess this goes back to my point. This is my point. This is how this field of psychology is not only flawed from within, it has spread so far out into the rest of society. It has corrupted the rest of society. This is a sick idea. It really is. Psychology is a disgusting philosophy. And it's ruining our society. I really believe that. And then I'm going to go as far as say harassing someone a little bit is okay. I know like some feminists in here are going to probably go crazy on that one. Harassing people is okay a little bit. I'm not saying obviously there has to be an extreme of that's going too far. But if you got some kid who's feeling ostracized and is sad, go up to them and say, hey, listen, come hang out with us. And it's like, no, I want to be left alone. Like, come on, man, come on. Come hang out. Come join us. That's okay. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to bother people a little bit. I'm trying to save a lot of this because I want to make a whole video on this, actually, but I'll speak a little bit. You know, my little brother used to bother me when I was a kid. And it would really irk me. And I was really mean to him at times when he did that. But you know what? He was right to do that. He was seeking a brotherly bond. He was seeking love for himself. It was certainly, absolutely, I think that he was needing from me is a large part of it. And for him to need from me, it's okay. He's my brother. That's what brothers are for, right? So if you have a needy brother that needs your attention, give him your damn attention. Right? I'm so sick of this cut off toxic people from my life. Cut off toxic. No, that makes you toxic. I would argue. I mean, you are the one who is disturbed if you're constantly cutting people out of your life. I mean, if solitary confinement is torture, then you are engaging in a form of torture by removing love from someone's life, by depriving people of love. Man up. Love your brother. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Love, it takes strength. But my brother, yeah, and here, I guess I should be angry at myself because I made that mistake myself with my brother, and I greatly regret that. In fact, yeah. But my brother needed attention from me, but also, you know, he's seeking me to pull me in too, so that I don't veer off and ostracize myself. Brotherhood is good. Love is the right thing. And so that's the argument I'm making. All of you who say cut out the toxic people from your life, there might be some that are so toxic. I hate using that word, like I said, but there are some that are so vehemently. That's not the right word either. But some people who are just utterly extreme in their toxicity. That sure, I do hear that. And believe me, I have had many of those people in my life too. But if you have the strength, do your best to love. Do your best to love. That's the answer. It's not to cut people out. You got to bring them in. I mean, that's the only. I mean, all of us would be toxic if someone didn't bring us in. Every one of us on this planet would be toxic if someone in this world didn't love us. So love others. That's what you got to do. All right. This is the Defeated Soul. See you around.